So hello everyone, welcome back to another video. I am Vaibhav and we are going see our today's video topic is life cycle of a object. Life cycle of object. So every entities has a initialize and death. That means it has a one phase. That means it created, it in use, and then it will be destroyed or it will be finished. So also object having these phases. We can see that it's all phases by step by step. Before that, we are going to see what is meant by object or why we creating an object. So at the time we are creating object, that means we are allocating some space for that any variables or any data we can allocate this any memory for that. So while we are creating any object, that time that object has some states and behaviors. So see what is meant by states and behavior by the one example. Let's consider there is a animal is a class, and in that class dog is an object. So that dog has a legs, eyes, tail, and then all these things, color, all these things comes as a state of that dog. That means that object dog having states like legs, tail, eyes, and color, and that dogs can having that dog can walk, bark, eat. These are the behaviors of that object. That means the object containing some states and behaviors. See one more example for that. We know the way, car. That car is a one our the vehicle is our main class. That vehicle are consisting a object as a car, and that object having states like engine, seats, color, or steering system. All these things comes under the our states, and the car can move, can stop, can turn. These all are the behavior of that object of class. After that, we are going to see what is the syntax for creating an object or why we creating object. For we are creating object for allocating some memory or allocating some space for the any object. Before we creating an object, there is a class. That class does not have or does not occupy any memory. The class is not actually existing, but when we are creating any object in that class, that time that object occupies some memory. That means after creating any object in a class, that class also should have occupy memory, but without object the class does not occupy any memory. So for creating an object, we are using syntax like we are take our previous example for creating syntax. That is, we are creating a syntax for the animal class. So there is an animal name. We can write as that the name of class, then the reference, then is equal to new, and then name of class. After that, parenthesis and semicolon. That means end of block. So for that, for our animal class, we can return as the animal is our class name, dog is our reference object, and is equal to new. We are using a new keyword for creating a new object, and then there is a again class name is a animal, then parenthesis and semicolon. There is a last thing, that is the animal, that is our animal, and parenthesis is the constructor for the is work as a constructor. In this case there is some things are happening, some process are happening, that is initializing and defining. We can see that when we give some functionality or giving some data allocation for that some specific object, that time that means we are giving some input like their data type like integer, float, string, or giving some defining some that work. So that time we are defining the we can achieving that defining. After that there is a next is initializing means when we creating object, that time that object should occupy some memory. That means it was an initializing, and there is a one word, there is a new keyword. with the help of new keyword, we are creating an object. With the help of new keyword, we are creating object. That means when we are using that new keyword, the memory should be allocated for that specific object. So that is the all overview of our objects. After that, we are going towards our point. That means life cycle of the object. They'll see how actually life cycle or how actually object travels through their life. So life cycle is dividing in their 6 parts. We can see this. First is a creating. Second is a in use. Third is a unreachable. Fourth is a uh, collector. Fifth is a or fifth, fifth is a final, and last one is a deallocation. We can see this one by one. So first is a creating. Whenever we creating object with the help of new keyword, as we see, that time some memory should be allocated for that object. That time we are creating some object. That means we are creating some object. That is our first stage of our life cycle. That is creating an object with the help of new keyword. After that, we are using some specific or a strong reference for that object. That means we are giving some input. That means that our object should be comes into the in use. That is our next step. That means in use. Whenever we giving any strong reference to the object, that object should be in our use. That means we are giving some there. We are giving the data type, or giving some functionality for that. That means we are giving them strong reference. The main purpose for the main requirement for object in use, that should have any at least one strong reference. Unless if there is not any strong reference, that should not be in use. After that, next our third step of life cycle is unreachable. As we see, where when we are providing some strong reference, that time it should be in use. But whenever that strong reference is not present in that class, that means that our object in our class object, that time that object is unreachable. That means it does not have any work. That time our object goes toward the goes to, call for the collector phase. That means our object is not in any work. That means it is don't have any strong reference, but it occupies some space. Due to that, it should convey toward the collector. Our fourth step is a collector. When our object is going in the collector space, that time also, if that object is having no that object is in that our object is in non, that means our object in non reference, does not having any reference. After that, the collector should occupy them. Collector should convey that things toward the collector. That means the garbage collector concept we are seeing in our previous video. That means the garbage collector is used as if any memory or any object in our classes which are not having any strong reference or any functionality in our code, that should occupy the spaces. With the help of our garbage collector, we can remove that, or we can eliminate that object from our code, which help to improving the quality of code, or which help to reducing the working cycle speed for that our object or our code. After that collector, the next page is finalization. Finalizing means after the collection, our object should go in finalizing. That means there is our object is still does not having any strong references. That time the goes towards the finalization. In finalization, if we have to extend the life of our object, that time if you have to extend the life, that time we are increasing the size of that object. With the help of increasing the size, we can extend the life of that object in our finalization state. But in finalization step, if there is not any extension, or there is not any strong reference, it should be ready for deallocation. That means our object should be going toward the next step, that is our deallocation. It should ready in the finalization state. After that, our last phase or last stage of our life cycle is object life cycle is uh, deallocation. That means if the memory is still in their steps, it does not have any strong reference for work, that time it goes toward a deallocation. That means actual work of our garbage collector start from from this case. That means it eliminate the space which is occupied by that object. It can remove all the entities. That means those entities does not having any functionality, or it does not having any strong references. It eliminate or remove that space or data from our code, and make that garbage free our whole code. That means there is the end of our object life, the removing by the garbage collector. So that is the overall life cycle of our object class, which are we seen in brief. So that is over for today. Thank you.